in our community, in the state, we need to be woke. We need to be woke. There are people that don't want us to be woke, but we need to be woke. So I just want to kind of go through. First of all, I want to introduce myself for those of you who don't know me, because you know me as Sister Willis, but you don't know my background. So why am I somewhat quasi-qualified to even teach Black history? I was born in Louisville, Kentucky. Got a bachelor's degree in finance from the University of Louisville, but I have a master's in teaching in Black history from Xavier University. Black history has been one of my passions since I've been a child. Activism has been one of my passions. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a Black Panther. I did. My father actually subscribed to the Black Panther newspaper for me when I was in middle school, or back then junior high school. But we're going to learn about the Black Panthers. Now, what you think about the Black Panthers is not what. Let me rephrase that. What they tell you about the Black Panthers is not actually what the Black Panthers was about. So we're going to learn about that, at another time. But just keep in mind, keep an open mind here. Also, I taught high school for about 14 years, and then I taught Black history at Florida Memorial University as well. So, and was very active and marched with my father in Louisville when Martin Luther King was there marching. So I've been in the activism, and it's in my blood. It's in my system. Now let's look at the syllabus. We only have an hour, so we're going to get to this, but we just want to quickly go over the syllabus. What I'm showing is only what I'm going to be teaching, which is Black history. Now, if you notice, we start here November 1st, 2022, and God willing, go all the way to March of 2027. But let me kind of explain that, because what I'm going to be, the first Tuesday of every month will be a class. So I'm kicking it off with the Black history class. The first Tuesday in December, Pastor Jones is going to be teaching Black theology. The first Tuesday in January, Pastor Willis is going to be teaching Blacks in the Bible, and then we'll rotate from there. So just to kind of give you an idea why it's going to take us so long to get through the syllabus, as shown here for the Black history class. Also, I don't have a particular textbook. I'm going to be drawing from many sources and resources, so there's no one textbook that I'm going to ask you to get. I'll just provide handouts and other material as we go along. Okay, so we start out with, and tonight we're going to do the Willie Lynch letter, which some of you may have heard of. But after that, we'll go back to Africa, because many of you may or may not know that slavery began in Africa. Or I'm sorry, the enslavement of Black people, Africans, began in Africa, and we'll talk about that. We'll go through the Middle Passage, all the way through how slavery began in North America, free Blacks, the opposition to slavery, the Civil War, and end up with Barack Obama in the White House. So that's where we're going to end, God willing, at that point. So moving right along, as I mentioned in the syllabus, we're going to be looking tonight at the Willie Lynch speech. Now, let me add a disclaimer. Many historians have discounted the Willie Lynch speech, letter, whatever you want to call it, as a hoax. So I know that information is out there. It's being contested as to whether or not it's real, but to me, it really speaks to it says something about the former and current condition of African Americans, that so much so that I think it's very important for us to start out with this letter. But just keep in mind, though, some historians think that it is a hoax. Willie Lynch was a real person, but the letter was supposedly delivered by him to an audience of American slave owners on the banks of the James River in Virginia in 1712. Willie Lynch was a slave owner from the West Indies. So he had came up with this idea of how to control the slaves. Okay, so he wrote this letter supposedly to the Black, or the slave owners in America. However, I'll just point this out as well, as it is pointed out in some of the historical texts, that some of the texts and words that were used in the letter were not used during that time period. For example, the word refueling and foolproof, were words that were not used back in 1712. So just keep that in mind. But I just wanted to, like I said, lift this up, because it's been widely read and discussed and talked about. As a matter of fact, Minister Farrakhan quoted it in the Million Man March, in his speech during the Million Man March. It was quoted during the protests surrounding the inauguration, or the first inauguration of George W. Bush. Denzel Washington quoted it in The Great Debaters, the movie The Great Debaters. Hip-hop artist Talib Kweli. Now, somebody might have to help me out with some of these names. He's a rap duo, Black Star, made reference to it in his song Redefense. Hip-hop artist Exhibit refers to Willie Lynch in his song Napalm. And also Kendrick Lamar referred to the song in his 2015 song Complexion. So it's been used and been quoted over and over again. So I just wanted to make sure that we started with this so everyone is aware of what it says, because it does speak to our current condition, even though it was quote unquote, written in 1712. So now this is where, participation comes in. I'm going to ask someone, we're going to read it out loud and then discuss it, because it's, it's if you have not read it, it's pretty eye-opening. So we have a microphone back there. Would someone like to begin reading for me? The first page, starting with where it says gentlemen. Any volunteers to read? Okay. Deacon Jeffrey now. Jeffrey got it, yes. But while we're waiting for that, just by show of hands, how many people have heard or read the Willie Lynch speech? Okay, just a few, about almost half, yeah, okay. I think. Okay, I think we're ready now. All right, Deacon Jeffrey, if you start our reading for us, please.
Gentlemen, I greet you here on the banks of the James River. In the year of our Lord 1712, first I shall thank you, the gentlemen of the colony of Virginia, for bringing me here. I'm here to help you solve some of your problems with slaves. Your invitation reached me on my modest plantation in the West Indies, where I have experimented with some of the newest and still the oldest methods of control of slaves. Continue?
Yes, go ahead.
Ancient Rome would envy us if my program were implemented. As our boat sailed south on the James River, named for our illustrious king whose version of the Bible we cherish, I saw enough to know that your problem is not unique. While Rome used cords of wood as crosses for standing human bodies along its highways in great number, you are here using the tree and a rope on occasion. I caught the whiff of a dead slave hanging from a tree a couple miles back. You are not only losing a valuable stock by hanging, you are having uprisings. Slaves are running away. Your crops are sometimes left in the field too long. For maximum profit, you suffer occasional fires. Your animals are killed. Gentlemen, you know what your problems are. I do not need to elaborate. I am not here to enumerate your problems. I'm here to introduce you to a method of solving them. In my bag here, I have foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if installed correctly, it will control the slave for at least 300 years. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it.
Okay, let's stop there and let someone else read. Thank you, Deacon Jeffrey. Would someone else like to pick up where he left off, please? And then we're going to read through it first and then go back and discuss it.
I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences and think about them. On top of my list is age, but it is there only because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade. There is intelligence, size, sex, size of plantations, status on plantation, attitude of owners, whether the slave lives in the valley, on a hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair, or is tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences, I shall give you an outline of action, but before that I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy is stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration.
Okay. You want to continue or want someone else to read?
Okay. The black slave, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male, and the young black male against the old black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves, young black male against the old, you must use the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. You must also have your white servants and overseers distrust all blacks, but it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. Gentlemen, these kits are your keys to control. Use them. Have your wives and children use them. Never miss an opportunity. If used intensely for 1 year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Sister Tammy, for reading that. So, as you can see, and my thing is like to always connect the dots. Everything is connected. So in reading this, and I want you to think about how can you connect the dots to what's going on in our community right now. He mentions lynching. He mentions this system of control of the slaves is better than lynching, even though he doesn't use the word lynch or lynching, but he says this is a foolproof method. And if you stop and think about it, what's going on in our community today? Somebody want to give me your thoughts on that? What do you, once you read this and once you think about this, what are you seeing today that relates to this Willie Lynch letter? Sister Gloria? For me, I see. Well, hold on. Yeah.
No, I can't hold this. For what I see, it's a lot of murders. It's a lot of killings. Like the police are policing us. They're taking our children, they're killing them, they're doing whatever they want to do with them. And that's the same thing they did at that time. In slavery time, they did whatever they wanted to do with the blacks. And they're still doing it right now. Right today, they're still killing us and killing our children and taking away our lives.
And that's true, but the point I want to make is think about this letter. These are instructions on how we can turn against each other. We don't even need the white community to do that. He gave explicit instructions on what to do so we will turn on each other, so we will not, we will constantly be under the control and under the thumb of the white man. Yeah.
We still turn against each other.
Exactly.
I mean, even in your neighborhood, you can see that even the colors, like they said, the skin color, if you're light, you're going to go this way. If you're dark, you're going to go that way. You're going to go against each other. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it is. That's what they are doing to us still, making us hate each other, you know.
Okay, there's another hand back there, brother.
I just want to say as I'm taking the mic, I don't know if they're still doing it to us or we still doing it to us.
That's exactly what the point I'm trying. That's why I'm starting at this point, because I want us to understand that we have the power, to take control back of our community and our situation. But we're going to, go on and discuss until we can,
Yes, I just wanted to piggyback on the last thing she was well what y'all was saying about us. It start with us because we are not sticking together. And I've always read that Willie Lynch thing years ago, and even on my job, I tell my brothers, I ask them about if they ever heard about the Willie Lynch, and I try to break it down, letting them know that, during that time, the white man, Willie Lynch, told a slave owner, that to just divide us, to just let the light-skinned slave think he better than the dark-skinned slave, and the house slave to think he better than the field slave, and so on and so on. And that for years, maybe, they gonna still be killing each other and stop focusing on us, And I see that in our community even today, we'll still think we're better than each other, we're killing each other, just because we envy what the next person having. Yeah.
And also, let me just say, they talked about they wanted us to love, respect, and trust them only. Now, now these days we have more people wanting to buy black. But, I remember a day not so long ago when their ice was colder than our ice. Same ice, but we felt like their ice was better. It was colder, so, we were distrusting each other in doing business with each other and going to, the doctors, the dentists, whatever. There was a certain distrust of our own people. But I think we're doing a little bit better than that now, thanks to our black president, Barack Obama. But there's still some growth that needs to happen there as well. Someone else had a hand up? Oh, okay.
What got me was that he's from the West Indies. I'm from the West Indies, Dominica. And I recently had some cousins who still live there visit us here. And they said this is going on still. For example, if your neighbor, or black, sees you building a house that's better than theirs next to you, they will report you to the authorities, claiming that you didn't get a permit or whatever they could find. The authorities themselves are black, and they will extort you, bribery, and things like that. So, yes, it's still happening.
And let's talk about age. We'll get to you for a second. In Africa, elders are revered. They're looked up to. They're respected. In our community, we just, once you get to be a certain age, we just kind of push you off to the side and ignore you and act like you haven't lived any time on this earth. So, I mean, age is one very in particular control mechanism that we use. The younger people these days have no respect for their elders. And we're not doing a whole lot to help them to get their respect. Okay, someone, I think John was next.
My nephew told me about the situation that happened with him. He was on a plane with two other business partners. They all were black. One was from America, him and one of them, and another one was from Africa or somewhere not from here. And they came on and they announced that they were going to have a different pilot. Something happened, and now they had to switch pilots. So I guess when they got on the plane, they saw it was a white pilot, but then they heard the voice of the other one, and they knew it was a black person. Mm-hmm. And the one from here said, "Oh, no, we going to crash." And the one from, I guess he was from Africa or somewhere, I don't remember where, he said, "Oh, we have a prince flying the plane."
Mm. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So any other comment? Okay.
Well, one thing I found, and that is that even the theory has spread it because we integrated in America, and then we segregated among ourselves. We've got blacks, all of us from Africa, from Jamaica, from the Bahamas, from Haiti. So we're all in different communities, and not only are we different communities, we don't trust one another. And the fact is that in this country, it is the largest way for us to actually not gain power as a people, because American black's gonna vote American black. Haitian black gonna vote Haitian black. Jamaican black gonna vote Jamaican black. And then what's gonna happen is that our European brothers are gonna always win because we will never win because we're so divided. So they're just happy to get, say, one Haitian, one Bahamian, one American black in office. But listen, European Americans don't care about you getting that one person in. But if all of us come together, then and we'll be able then to actually build a power base among ourselves. You're not going to build no power base in little Haiti by yourself. Not in America. You're not going to build no power base in Miramar, Jamaican, by yourself. That's just one area. What about the rest of Broward County, right? And that's where we are. We're struggling, and that disunity is very ingrained within us.
Now, okay, go ahead.
Problem. We know the problem, how we're divided, and we've been divided for centuries. But what is the solution?
Well, I mean, one solution is what we're doing right now, education. Because unless you're aware of the problem, unless you know what the problem is and you recognize the problem, then we'll never be able to solve the problem, okay? And I'm gonna use this term, I used to live in New Orleans, okay? In New Orleans, and they don't do it now, but not too long ago, they had, New Orleans, you have the Creole blacks and the other blacks. The Creole blacks most of them look white, okay? Before you could get into a certain restaurant or club or certain, they used to do what they called the brown bag test, okay? So if you walked up to this restaurant or nightclub or whatever, if you were darker than that brown bag, you did not get in. This is true, okay? They had the comb test, okay? If the comb didn't go through your hair, without any struggle, you did not get in. Okay, this is all true. Yeah, somebody else?
I noticed that a lot of this starts in the home also. How we have the mother that will protect the son from the father. Father can't really discipline that child because she feels that the husband's going to do something terrible to him. And you find that happening right now today. And that mentality continues to progresses itself, so we'll never get anywhere until we're able to run the family like it's supposed to be run. The head of the house is the man, and the woman is supposed to support him. You're going to find this continuously happen until that starts to resolve itself, then you're going to continue to have a problem. Now, I had a situation years ago on the job. I used to make deliveries and stuff like that, and they would have new hires come in. And I noticed the black guys, we wouldn't really help each other. We'll do just so much. We wouldn't go any further than that. But then I noticed the white guys, the Cuban guys that would be working, how they would rally around the new guy. And I just got curious because this one guy, man, he was just doing everything he could do to help this guy. And I called him to the side. I said, well, you know him? Y'all friends or something? He said, no, I just met him. And that did something to me. I said, now how would he would just extend himself out to just go out his way to try to help him to do everything he could do to make sure he's successful? But we was fighting against each other. We would talk against each other. We would do everything we could do to tear each other down. And until we can get our act together and try to look out for each other, nothing's really going to happen. Even with the Caucasian race, they have a mentality where they want to help. It's in them. I had situations where I'm working and they want to hold the door for me. Where I could come in, I got something in my hand, they would hold the door, and I rushed up there and I got the door because I'm used to just going. And they actually got offended, like, whoa, I wanted to help you and you didn't allow me to help you. Us, we just closed the door right in each other's face. We didn't even try to hold the door. So, we got to do better to ourselves.
I mean, let's go back to what he said. One second. Black male, young black male against old black male. Female against male. So think about the issues and challenges we have within our community, and it's all, right here, but we have to be aware of it. Okay, someone else?
Okay, so in the letter, she talked about Rome using the cross and then the slave owners in America using the tree and the ropes. And I think today that equates to our prison system, because the prison system takes our young black men, breaks them, then takes away their rights to society, and then send them back out on the street. And where they really have, they've lost so much that when they come back, the only option they have is to go back into crime. And so it's a recurring situation, and sometimes there's no way for them to get out of that cycle. So I think the prison system is one of the biggest hindrance right now with our people.
And that's true. We imprison more people in this country than any other country in the world. Any other country in the world. Somebody, okay.
Before he go, I just wanted to touch that, because not only do the system imprison them, but then when they come back to the community, we're not ready to welcome them. Yes. We shun them.
Well, I'd just like to say I experienced that type of discrimination from a young lady in college, right? The West Indies, me being darker than the paper bag, and she was lighter and her family shunned me because I was dark-skinned. And that was the first time I had ever seen that. So we're college students, she's at FIU, and I was like, wow. I think I'm a pretty good guy, I'm a pretty good catch, and she didn't catch me because her parents told her that I wasn't, I was dark-skinned. And I do want to say this, it's still happening with white people. I just read an article with Brandon Marshall today and Terrell Owens, and they both had separate incidences of white women alleging or being scared of them because they were big black men. Right, and they were both in their own residences, neighborhoods, and the police were called for both Brandon Marshall in separate incidences and Terrell Owens, both Hall of Fame football players, but white women called the police on them because they were scared of them, and so we still have a lot to deal with issues like that.
That's so true. Okay.
Okay. Okay, originally, piggybacking on what the sister said about the prison system, the original prison systems here in the United States, they were former plantations. And they came up with all these petty laws where you couldn't be in town after 5 o'clock and all these different reasons just to arrest our young men and put them in prison, put them right back to work where they had just came from. And it still has not changed. I mean, I think it's in Louisiana, you got an Angola prison. Right. That is still exists. It's a plantation.
Yeah, it's one of the oldest and most harsh prisons in the country. And then I was watching a program. I mean, I'm just all in. I love documentaries. Watching a program. I think The Making of Black America. Is it that program? Or, no, maybe it was on Sunday morning. A story on one of the shows talking about this slave owner whose name was Lumpkin in Richmond, Virginia. He owned, all this land, this plantation, owned slaves, had this slave, Mary Lumpkin, who, fathered several of his children. But also he owned a slave jail, or a jail for enslaved people. So when they were waiting to, even though the slave trade had ended, they were waiting to send these enslaved Africans or African Americans to the South. He created this jail, and they would pay him to be brutally cruel to the slaves, okay? But when he died, he left everything he had to Mary Lumpkin, his slave. He called her the person with whom I live. Now she, got her children free, she was free, and now, just making a long story short, today that property is Virginia Union University. So here was a former enslaved prison, now has been turned to a university for African Americans where, Douglas Wilder, the first African American elected governor, went to school, and several other, famous African Americans as well.
Yeah, he's still the only black governor ever elected. But
but there was another governor that was appointed in Louisiana. We'll talk about PBS Pinchback. Yeah.
Right. I just want to speak to my sister's concern about what's the solution today. I think, as Clarissa just said, Sister Willis, let me say that, the reality is it starts with the education. But one of the other things, and I appreciate being here and Pastor Jones is allowing us to do this now, because the answer is in working collectively and working with the African diaspora. And one of the things that we're doing, we have congregations of Haitian, Hispanic, Black, white, all working together in the power of the collective to try to refute this issue. Because as we know, we said this 17 years ago, when it was time to pull together the churches, our trust is broken. And what the Willie Lynch letter is addressing here is not only a breach of trust, but it's a way to make sure we never trust each other. Starting with the complexion, the nature of your hair, your size, your age. I mean, you look at that letter, he breaks it down into every category that says, in effect, if you ain't like me, don't trust me. Okay? So we got to trust, regardless whether we believe it or not, that God is going to do the right thing through these people that we're living with and working with and worshiping. Yes, sir. That's right.
And one other thing, and that is we see it also in our churches. And you go to the white community, there's one Black Baptist church in that community. You go to a white community or the European community, there's one Methodist church, there's one Pentecostal church. When you come to our community, there's 10 of each. And the question is, why do we need so many churches with the same denominations? And so what happens is that we don't even trust each other in our faith.
That is so true. I mean, there's, I guess, right here this is Dade County. There's a little row. I mean, I know in one block, in one block, there are about 10 churches. One block, all right next door to each other. You know, about 10 churches. I'm not going to say where it is. I'm not, trying to put anybody on blast, but I'm not going to say where it is, but, I asked the same question. Why is it that we cannot come together? I mean, there is, and that's the whole point of talking about this today, because when you know better, you should do better. So it becomes incumbent upon us to be the change that we want to see. Now, I mean, personally, I try now to buy black in everything I do. Even to the point of I need a purse, but I'm trying to find a black purse designer, because I'm not going to buy a Michael Kors or Cole or whatever, whatever. I'm trying to find a black designer. Went online and found some making bags in Africa. I mean, we have to make a really concerted effort to put this to bed. We have to respect each other. Learn and there's a thing called the speed of trust. When you trust somebody, you can get things done, very quickly, very efficiently. But when you don't trust somebody, you want to have, make this condition and that condition, and it just gets to be very cumbersome, and to the point where why even bother? So the point of us studying this letter today and starting out with this is to make people aware of what's going on in our communities right now and what we can do about it. To be the, like I said, be the change that we want to see. So any other, Deacon Stephen?
Being the change that we want to see is absolutely important, and I think we need to expand how it's seen, not just with those of us that are here, but I don't know if already other congregations have been invited, or if we've opened it up so that collectively, as a collective, we can begin to demonstrate that, because when people see it and see the inertia, see the momentum, it's more likely that people will get involved and want to see what's going on and why we're doing it, why we're coming together, when several different congregations are coming together on this one accord.
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
I just have to point out that yesterday on Sunday, one of the pastors in Atlanta preached about the voting that's going on in Georgia with Herschel Walker. I'm gonna keep it real here, that his whole nomination and adoption was designed to split our vote.
Yeah.
And a lot of us don't realize it. Not only is he not competent and qualified to run, they have intentionally, in fact, I don't know if you heard, I'm going to send you a link to this. What was the preacher's name that was, he's a friend of Jamal Bryant.
Yeah.
Jamal, yeah, some of you have probably heard it,
Yeah.
but Jamal Bryant hit it hard. And what he was really saying, which you need to Google it and hear what he's saying here, because he said, we don't need a walker, we need a runner. Okay? Because the reality is, this is the way they're going to make sure that the governor, if they win the way they want to win, and I don't think they are, I'm going to tell you straight up, I believe God's going to sweep that whole county straight so that blacks will be in power, but it's still going to be so close that whoever wins won't have a mandate. So we got to unite, and I just wanted to use that because your question at the beginning was, how does the Willie Lynch letter relate to today? Today's Willie Lynch is Herschel Walker. And the way he has been indicted into this position, unqualified, that's Willie Lynch.
Okay. Any other? Okay.
I just wanted to say this, that Pastor earlier mentioned about even in our own communities where there's black and Bahamian and Haitian, and each one wants to vote their own type. And he mentioned Little Haiti. Well, I just wanted to say that Little Haiti has been now overrun with gentrification because no community can do it by itself. That's why I take all of us of color uniting rather than, because Little Haiti was just that. It was all Haitian influence. It was all Haitian businesses. But you go through there now, and you'll be surprised how Midtown is expanding.
Yes, that is so true. And let me just say this, it's like Pastor Willis says, we need to come together. I know other communities, like the Asian community, I think some in the Caribbean community will come together, pool their money together, okay, invest in real estate, invest in, invest in businesses and help get each other started. But we won't do that. So we're stuck, each one of us has a little corner store. But if we all pooled our money together, we could have a Walmart, or something like that. But we need to, really think about, really put pedal to the metal and start pooling our money to invest in, by myself, I can't buy a hotel. But if we all pool our money together, we can buy many hotels and become owners. And that's the thing, this one other point I want to make. I read this article that back in the 1920s, African Americans owned about 14 million acres, okay? You know how much acreage or land we own now, approximately now? Under 1 million acres in the United States. I want my 13 million acres back, okay? We need to make sure that, and this is a whole nother kind of going off base here, but, if you have family that has land in Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, make sure you do you can to hold on to that land, because people will come in and try to, because back in the day, there were no such thing as deeds, okay? So there's no way to prove that your family owned that land, but there's an organization in South Carolina that can help you. It's called heirs property, okay? And heirs property means that there, even though your grandmother said, well, this is Uncle so-and-so's piece of land, this is Auntie so-and-so's piece of land, this is your brother's piece of land, but nothing to prove that. Yeah, and to document that. Thank you. Nothing to document that. But, if you have land, do whatever you can to hold on to it, because guess what? God's not making any more land right now. Okay, not to my knowledge. I may be wrong, but I haven't seen any more land pop up anywhere. Okay.
One before you pass it.
Okay, good enough.
Yeah, before I forget.
Sorry.
That's okay, you're good. I just wanted to say, Pastor, we really do thank you for allowing God to use you where this is concerned, and I'm so grateful that God sent us, Sister Willis and Pastor Willis here too, because we do have a lot of work to do. And like you said, it begins with educating us, because I always, in my closing prayer in the Women with Vision ministry, we, about putting that myth to sleep about women can't get along with women. And when I think about when my pastor say, the young lady say, I don't do women. So, you know, and you think about a lot of Tyler Perry movies. He got the darker skinned man, the cruel man, like Blair Underwood, the real gangster one, when the light skinned men are the good men. You know, so, and the Jamaican women think they're better than the American women. So we got a whole lot of work to do. And a lot of this stuff is right here in our churches too, where we can't get along. We don't want to commend a sister if she look good or your dress beautiful like yours is tonight. You know, hey, Sister Willis, you look gorgeous tonight. We should be able to do that, all of us. You know, and I hope and pray that we'll get to that, where we can really come together. And, you know, I remember when Oprah did a series on darker skinned women. She did, I think, a 6-part series on that, you know, so, but I just wanted, we got a lot of work to do.
I mean, it just always baffled me that you have white people, women especially, that pay money to go get the color that we are. But we can't, you know, appreciate the color that we are and the different shades of colors that we are. Because we're all, you know, when I cut, you cut, it all comes out red. You know, so I mean, it all starts with, like I said in Bible study a few weeks ago, take every thought captive. You know, when you are faced with a situation dealing with your brother or your sister, you know, think about what you're thinking about. You know, make sure that you're thinking the right thoughts and trying to let God lead you and guide you in how to deal with a situation or deal with somebody. But we all need to really, you know, think hard and fast about coming together and putting together a plan where we can start to become empowered, you know, to, you know, get the vote out, you know, buy property, and guess what? Money talks, you know? Okay. See, someone back there? Oh, okay, all right.
One second. Just today I saw, and you have to be careful because right now they're going to gentrify Alapata. Right? And so they actually are saying that they're going to make homes there basically affordable, lease affordable, and purchase affordable. So they're going to take, and so they're going to be like what it is, Wynwood. Yeah. So what they're going to actually work that to there. And another thing that I saw, and that is that it's not just Rosewood, not just Tulsa, not just Ocoee. When you ride down the I-95 and you see Ocoee, do you know all of those areas? There are thousands of blacks that were killed, buried, and not even mentioned of, especially in Ocoee. And there are areas in, at least they showed about 13 different states where there were black prosperity. And they actually, what they did, they went in and they actually went in one area, had 2 black boys in this particular area. They said 2 black boys raped a white woman. They had their trial and killed them in one day and persecuted them in one day and killed over 1,000 blacks in that city and dug, and it's a lake now, right? They put it in a lake, and there's about 12 different cities where there were affluent blacks had banks and hotels that they killed all the blacks and turned the land into lakes. Check it out.
And I have a picture in my phone, which I'm going to use it in a later class. It's called the Black Massacres. There was Chicago, Springfield, East St. Louis, Tulsa, Vicksburg, Opelousas, Louisiana, Thibodaux, Louisiana, Memphis, Clinton, Rosewood, St. Bernard Parish, New Orleans, Charleston, Atlanta, Wilmington, Philadelphia, I mean, New York. These are all black massacres that happened that, you know, we only heard about a few of them, but, you know, we'll be talking about those a little bit later as well.
Okay, maybe I missed the answer, but it's not a dead horse because it's something I'm really looking for understanding and appreciation in terms of invitation to other ministries, other groups that could participate with us. While we're starting this off, this is the first session. Maybe that's already been thought of, but I missed it. I got in a few minutes late. I apologize.
No, this is open to the public. And you can invite anybody, everybody we want, you know, our children, our youth to come to. I know they just had the fall festival last night or yesterday. So, but yeah, we want everybody to be involved now. And I have a plan, you know, for the children as well, you know, because they need to be, we need to start with the young ones now. So they won't, this Willie Lynch syndrome will not be perpetuated. You know, it will stop with us. Somebody else?
I just want to speak up on that point, Deacon Stephen, that you just brought up. Pastor Jones and I have regular meetings with clergy here, especially in the South Broward area, because he's been the president of the South Broward Ministers Alliance for, what, 20 years or so? 12 years. And I'm saying that in earnest, because while I have been the chairman and president of the Collective Empowerment Group in Dade, we have been talking to clergy at our meetings about coming to this. Many of them have expressed a desire to do it, but the problem is that this may be their Bible study night, or it may be another situation. We're trying to find that sweet spot where we can open it up for others. But I wanted to assure you that has definitely been talked about. We are working to see what we can do. And some of the pastors have said, absolutely. But Pastor Jones, in his wisdom, said, let's get this thing started. You know, get it organized before you invite people into your house.
And it's recorded, too.
Yeah.
That's right, and it's recorded.
Deacon Stephen?
If I could just say, I'm willing to help however I can with that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, any other further comment? We're almost at the end of the hour, and I have a little I was going to end with a little Black History trivia question, but any other comments about Willie Lynch or anything we've been discussing this evening? Yeah, I knew it was another hand.
I just wanted to agree with you about coming together and investing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking that if we have anyone in the church that's has experience with money management and stuff like that, we could have some kind of classes to teach people how to invest, how to budget their money, how, you know, just basic stuff. Have good credit, repair their credit, you know, just basic stuff that most people don't even do nowadays.
Yep.
You know, you have, maybe there are people, this is my thought, are not ready for retirement and they're at that age. What can we do to help them to, you know, start investing money to prepare, you know?
No, that's an excellent idea. And Pastor Jones saying.
I don't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We have a movement entitled Black Fathers Weekend, which basically deals with the reason and how to recover our black fathers so that they can save our black families. This we do every quarter, and what we deal with is not the problem, but the solution. The thing is that we just finished our last quarter meeting on criminal justice reform as it relates to record expunging and erasing in Broward County, and the state attorney from Broward County is supposed to get in touch with the state attorney from Dade and Palm Beach and begin to seek how we can actually do the same record erasing and expunging in all three counties and then move it beyond us. And then in our next quarter meeting is Dr. Webb, who is a financial person, will be also, and everybody's, even though it's Black Fathers Weekend, recovering fathers, so they can recover our family, that will also be, and he will not be the only one, but the whole thing is that every area where financial is depleted within families, how they can actually come to a point that they can be financially stable. So I think that for this session being enlightened, we need a lot of sessions on solutions. And for years, we've just been talking about the problems. And I'll share this in closing. One of the things that I realized that I too was in the 60s. I too recognized the Black Panthers and Angela Davis and Stokely Carmichael and Rap Brown and Malcolm X. All of those were back there when I was young. I'm still young though, but so the whole thing is that all of them were back there and we were back there, and the same, and the reason we're not dealing with problems because the same problems that we were talking about in the 60s, right? It's still in that wagon. It's just got different mules pulling it. And listen, I told them we're not going to pull that wagon of problems no more. We're going to get in the wagon and take some of the problems out of that wagon. And the way we're going to do that, we got different groups, got different solutions in different areas, but we got a panoramic of problems. One inset of solution is not going to help this panoramic. We got to find as many solutions as we can and bring them to a common table. And when we do that, then we can offer not saying that we got solutions, but tell them that's the person you go to.
We also have Pathway to Freedom that we do. Right. Men's ministry.
Okay.
We have a program called Pathway to Freedom, in which we do a series of things as it relates to home ownership, business, new business opportunities, investing, and of course, so we put that on quarterly as well. So we've got the men's ministry at Koinonia. Yes, ma'am.
So the question is, because it's the men's ministry, there needs to be a coming together so the women's ministry or the women can benefit from that.
Listen, it's just called the men's ministry. Women are invited to participate in everything we do.
We just got to make it known. We'll do that.
Okay, we're going to be shutting down just a minute.
Yeah.
This will be the last question, the last comment.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on our future, right, which is the youth, right, the younger generation. And it's troubling, and, you know, I want to know how can we fix it, right, the out of control. That's what's going on with our youth today. I know the government, you know, stopped the parents from scolding the kids, you know, but I feel as though that we have lost control of our youth, you know, and I'm trying to figure out, will we ever pull them back in? Because I watch on the news how many young killing young.
I'm just going to say two things: TV, video games.
As I walk this mic back to the booth, I want to say this, that I had a conversation with some young men this morning because they woke up to another young rapper who has been murdered. And they were moved by that. They say he was low-key, he didn't bother anyone. And they were just talking about the problem. And here's what I really want to say. Me and Pastor Willis had briefly this conversation before we started tonight. This November is going to be crucial because even in the elections, there are those that are trying to move to a minority rule, an autocracy. Our democracy is under attack. And if we don't participate in the election process, I don't care what we plan, we're going to be another Venezuela, another Russia, another North Korea, if we don't pay attention to the whole, like Pastor said, to the whole problem. And so we need to be a part of the electoral process as well.
All right, so Sister Deidre, can you pull up the trivia question from the PowerPoint? And while she's doing that, I cannot leave here without, let's give Sister Lynch a hand for these beautiful African decorations. And she did. I know you had a team. I know you didn't do it by yourself. I don't know who else helped you, but it just really set the tone, and it just really touched my heart when I walked in and saw the big map over there, which is before Africa was Africa. All the decorations back here in the back, all over the sanctuary. So thank you so much, Sister Lynch. It looks beautiful. So please. Yeah. All right, so this is our Black History Trivia question. Who can answer? What was the nickname the runaway slaves gave Harriet Tubman? Oh, okay, all right, so good. Okay, just checking. So Yeah, everybody hollered out, but it is Black Moses, so I thought somebody was going to say Bojangles, but no. Queen of the South, all right. So that is it for this first Black History class. Let's give Pastor Jones, you can close us out.
First, let's give Sister Clarissa Willis a hand for her leadership. And I have to say, as I got to know her, that was one of the things I love. I mean, it's so odd about this, but she's more radical than I am, and I'm pretty radical. She was ready to be a Panther, and I was struggling with whether I'm still loving Dr. King, but she's ready to join the Panthers, okay? But I think this is good. I mean, and I want us to end on this kind of laughing note, because it's not going to do us any good to cry about our history. We need to know it, overcome it, don't forget it, but don't be controlled by it. And my part, which is not going to be until January because Pastor Jones is the next one up, I want to kind of expound on why is that. We didn't want to get to the Bible until we talked about the history and the theology. And I read that from Jeremiah Wright, one of his books about 10 blacks in the Bible. And it really is the shaping of our faith. And what he said, in effect, that touched me, he says, don't start teaching the people about blacks in the Bible until they understand their history, have a deeper understanding of what is theology, what does it mean to know theology. Because if I just open up the Bible and said, okay, let's talk about who was black in the Bible, of course, you know we're going to start in Genesis, and we noticed that because the Garden of Eden was in Africa. All of the rivers ran through Africa. So you have to understand that people of color were always in the Bible, but it's been whitewashed. And as Pastor Jones has pointed out, we are in a black church teaching white theology. But if you don't know what theology is, and you don't know and appreciate history, you're not going to be ready for blacks in the Bible. Because we are so prominent in that book. And I mean, just say this. Let's be clear. Jesus was Jewish, but he was not white. Go ahead, Doc. Hey, come on. We're streaming.
Ask yourself the question: How can Mary and Joseph be white and hide in Egypt?
Those are some of the questions. We're going to have to deal with this. And let me say, too, as we close this out, we don't want to generate hatred of other people. What this should do is empower you to be able to love everybody and not let anybody disenchant or disenfranchise you. That's an empowered people. So I'm excited, Pastor Jones. Thank you for this. The other thing I want to say, Sister Lynch, thank you so much for this African flavor. And Pastor, I'm going to say this because you know I'm honest about my feelings. When you walk into a church, you should see some signs of blackness. Because I know we're streaming now, but believe it or not, white people will join a black church. I know because before coming here, I pastored a multiracial church. And I was the founder of a black church and ended up taking in white folk. And I did not stop being black. It's so healthy to own who you are. And there are whites just begging us to be who we are because they know this woke stuff ain't working. So I'm going to stop there, and I think we should close in prayer. We didn't start in prayer, and I'm going to put our pastor up on the spot since he put me on the spot and ask you to close us in prayer.
All right. Can we all stand? Make sure y'all invite some others here. The more people we have here, the more enlightened we become, and the more enlightened we become, the more we can begin to spread this because it's got to metastasize. It's got to spread. We cannot keep living the way we're living. And as the brother said over in the corner, we need to get our young men in the house of God, or just so we can inform them. Our young men don't have any mentors. They're not being led. I mean, I heard someone say that the mothers kept the fathers from beating the boys. Yeah, my daddy didn't get that message. My mama didn't get that message. Boy, well, I got beat to sleep. So, so, so that message didn't filter down to my house and my brother and my nephews. But we need to get our young men and our young ladies, right? Invite them, and we need to invite the entire church, and not just our church, as the brother also said, Deacon Stephen said. We need to. We've been telling other pastors, and so the thing is that it's hard to break ice in areas like this. But we don't seek to break ice. We're not going to give up. Like, we're not going to give up on the Black Fathers Weekend. We're not going to give up on the finance. We got a lot of stuff going on that's dealing with our pain. It's just finding enough people to realize that it's critical. It's very critical that we help ourselves, because this government has shown us in over 400 years they are not going to help us. And that's why they got critical race theory. They don't want you to know what they did to you. Somebody, they don't want their children to actually feel guilty. We don't want our children to forget why they have psychological problems based upon who they are. Amen? Amen. Let us all bow. Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, not because we hate or seek revenge, but we need to know. We need to know the God of the oppressed. We've heard the interpretation of the oppressor, but Egypt can't write liberation theories for the for the Israelites. Neither can Europeans write liberation theories for Black Americans or for African Americans or for Africans, period. Help us then to discover, as Howard Thurman says, what Jesus says to a people standing with their backs against the wall on tiptoe. Help us, Lord, to understand, and Lord, fill the place. Not the fact that we just gain the knowledge, but we generate a movement of recovery. Now let the sweet communion of your Holy Spirit rule, rest, and abide with us now and forever. And they that love the Lord said amen. Sister Willis, thank you again. Sister Clinch, all that make this possible.